Greetings and welcome to another exciting episode of the Why I Love Disney podcast. Always exciting with my friends Easton and David.
Hey,
how are you, fellas?
How you doing?
Can't complain.
I'm doing great. I just purchased, I got to tell you, David, I just purchased the Advent calendar, the Mickey's Christmas Carol 24-day Advent calendar mystery pin set. Limited edition. 3,300, only 3,300 out there. I just bought it. I sent you guys a link in the chat if you want it. Hopefully, it still isn't sold out quite yet. It's a little pricier. It's a $250 set. But per pin, that's not too bad, right?
Yeah, it will probably sell out. If not today, it will probably sell out by tomorrow. You never know for sure when they do these. They usually do one every year, I think, and. This year's Mickey's Christmas Carol. So it always kind of depends on how attached people are to the property itself, how fast it will go. I think the last one was more of just kind of a random grouping last year. It was like a bunch of different characters, maybe with a wreath or something like that. So this year, all from one show. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, but You've not bought any pins before, have you? Is this your first?
This is my first Disney pin purchase.
There you go. Now
yes.
You've done the virtual. You've tried some of this virtual pin trading.
So Pinnacle is the platform. I don't know if we've talked about this very much on the podcast, but I know we've talked about NFTs and digital assets before and how that can be utilized for different properties. It was big a couple years ago. It kind of comes and goes, kind of gets fatty, and then it's a fad, and then it kind of dies down, then it comes back again in popularity. But I've kind of always been fascinated with the digital properties and the digital collections, and I got into it with a company called Dapper Labs, who is the backbone for these NFT collectibles, if you will, for these bigger brands. They do a platform called NBA Top Shot, which is basically digital NBA trading cards. They do one called NFL All Day, which is the NFL version, the football version of the same thing. And then earlier this year, they actually released what they call Pinnacle, which is the Disney digital pin trading platform. And I've been on since I was on the invite from the beta, and got in really, really early and have a whole bunch of digital pins. I've probably spent way too much money on it. But some of them are really cool. And the market it's still kind of in beta form. It's invite only.
Right.
Which it's not hard to get an invite. I think you have one now too, David. It's not really hard to get it. It's just not all the features are up yet. For instance, there's no marketplace to sell your pins yet or trade your pins yet. So basically, if you buy them, you just have them in your wallet and you can look at them on your phone, but you can't really do anything with them yet. But that just like NBA Top Shot, NFL All Day, those marketplaces usually come online within 6 to 8 months of the program launch. So I'm kind of sort of imminent, and then you can find out what the market rate is going for different things and what the exclusive rare pins are and what are kind of more common, and it kind of sets a market for itself. So yeah, I've been in that, but this is my first real pin purchase.
Well, that's
so
cool.
I don't even know what I'm going to do with these either, other than it looks cool. It's like it looks like a book, a leather bound book, and you open it up. There's little boxes, just like an advent calendar. You count down. Our family does a lot of advent calendars, usually the Lego ones and stuff. So yeah, I thought I'd buy one.
You'll have to go back and watch Mickey's Christmas Carol with the fam, so you can because that was kind of the fun when that came out in the 80s. In the 80s that they brought, a lot of characters that make cameos, like the Three Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf and Mr. Toad and Jiminy Cricket. Different characters make little appearances in the show. So, that's what the pins are. A lot of classic characters. So it'll be fun. You'll have to go back and see if you know who everybody is.
I sure will. Now, you own some pins, correct, David?
I did. Like we got some pins through the years at different events and things when we'd be in the parks. And then in 2020, I finally broke down and said, you know what, during the pandemic, a lot of the parks pins were on what was then Shop Disney. Now it's back to Disney Store. So you could get a lot of things online because the parks were closed. And so I did start making my way through a little bit of that. I thought it would be fun at some point to trade and do things like that. But, unfortunately, I haven't done a lot of trading. I've done a lot of buying.
That's usually how it goes.
I've bought a lot of things to trade and things like that, but I haven't done as much of that as. In fact, I need to probably put a lot of things on eBay because I've got a lot of extras that I need to move on so I can buy some other things instead.
There you go. Easton, do you own any Disney pins?
Just a few. I mean, I've not made it to. I feel like every Disney fan kind of goes through like I love the parks, and then you get through the I want all the movies, and then later on you kind of go through the I want all the pins. And I haven't made it there yet, but I'm sure it's coming someday.
But we do have a lot of Lorcana cards. Now we have done that. You do have a whole lot of those.
Yeah. I do the physical, like how you do with the basketball cards, the digital basketball cards and football cards. Disney has their own version. They have their own physical trading cards, and that's what I'm into right now, is getting a lot of those.
So what is the most valuable of the Lorcana trading cards? What set? What would be kind of your level 1 Charizard?
We sold one for 30,000. I'm kidding.
You did? Nice. All right. Let's go to Disney.
I am kidding.
Right now, the most valuable card of all time is the Charizard cards. They dropped the whole set at a D23 event. And so there's this D23 Expo promo set. It's like six or so cards. And that set, if you have the whole set, it's priced at about like 12 grand.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
all
typically
the D23 promo cards are the biggest.
Yeah, it typically happens that, again, I'm always a little, because the things that D23 sometimes will put out, or things that will be available just at Disney shows, will be the most limited best pins. And I'm always like, why don't you leave? These are things a lot of people would want. And then they make them the most limited. And then the things that everybody can get are like, okay, there's another Stitch pin. There's another Winnie the Pooh pin. Like, who needs another, there's a lot of the same things that repeat. And then they'll do like something, you're like, oh man, I've never seen them do that character. Oh, there's only 300 made. So sometimes I wish that they would broaden out. That would be my goal was to kind of give it like a 5-year period and see what it's like. I've enjoyed it, but I've also collected a lot of movies, and so that's been kind of with the closing of Disney Movie Club, I had to scramble to get some things that I wanted there that I thought might be gone forever, and those have really gone up in value online. So I kind of had to take a break from the pins for a while, but my goal was to hit like a full cycle, because they do a lot of anniversary pins. So about every 5 years, they're going to do the anniversary of whatever movies came out that year. And then I thought, man, this is going to start repeating itself. So I've had fun. It's been fun for our family. We had a good time with it, looking for things. John David was in the park. He would look for things for me. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes from here. It's been fun.
What is your most prized collectible, Disney or otherwise?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I've got a lot
What's the thing you would have trouble letting go of?
My children.
Collect children. All right.
No, just the ones that I talk to on a regular basis. My three, my three, and my two, Easton and McKay. I would say those 5. Those are my most valuable.
So I'm gonna tell you a weird one, and I wouldn't say this is like treasured, but it's interesting. And if enough money on eBay it would bring, I would definitely part with this quickly. But I actually have Janet Reno's coaster,
her coaster,
and her name tag from a Senate hearing during the Whitewater investigations. How about that?
Well, that's so random.
Do you even know who Janet Reno is, Easton?
Yes, I do.
Okay, yeah, all right. I think she's passed away now.
She is.
But yeah, my aunt worked on the Senate, that committee that actually was Fred Thompson and Joe Lieberman were the chairs of the committee during the late 90s. The Whitewater investigation was ongoing, and they called Janet Reno in to testify. And I went to college at George Washington University. And I would go over and sit in on the hearings and help her clean up and afterwards. And
help Janet Reno clean up, or your
yes, my aunt who actually would set the tables up she was a clerk she kind of ran the office for that committee.
Cool.
And so I would go help her. So Howard Ickes and Janet Reno, I have your coasters from that day when you testified. How about that?
That's cool.
Anyhow, they're somewhere.
Actually my most prized possessions would be, besides things that were around my kids, like things my kids made, things like that, still worth more. But things that I had, my Disney stuff would be things that I had as a kid, like my Haunted Mansion game, Haunted Mansion record, things like that are expensive on eBay. Old things like that. When our first trip to Disney in the 70s was when I was very young, was the guidebook that came, and now you get the folded out map. But back when we went, we got this little book that was it's about 20 pages, and it had maps in it, and it had descriptions of all the attractions. So that's still a pretty valuable, because that was our first trip, and that's kind of a vintage ephemera of the park, which I think is what you call handwritten, printed stuff. So things like that. And I've got some programs from when we went to see, like, what before there was the ice skating shows, the Disney ice skating shows that come to the arenas. They had some Disney shows that our family took us to, and you'd go to the arena and watch a Disney show. And I've got programs from those things. So a lot of that stuff's fun. And then I've got down in the basement, I've got Walt Disney's cryogenic frozen body that
there you go.
I bought
off
say that
eBay.
could bring a lot.
I bought off
that
eBay.
Might get you in trouble with DeSantis I'm sorry, you're not in Florida, but you're governor. I mean, the authorities, the feds
I couldn't have a basement if I was in Florida.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point. So I do have one actually cherished Disney possession.
What is that?
That was really cool. My favorite book growing up as a kid, the one I learned to read on, was The Haunted House.
Oh, yeah.
It was a children's book. It had Mickey, Donald, and Pluto, and they go catch bank robbers, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
And I had, as a kid, I would read it. I memorized it as a kid. And it wasn't terribly long ago. Well, it was. I guess it was. I thought it wasn't long ago. But my mother found my original copy, and she wrapped it up and gave it to my oldest son for Christmas, like his first or second Christmas. So it's in my house. This old beat up copy of The Haunted House.
Did you shed a little tear?
I did. It was really cool. That was a really special gift.
And we do have some things, like some different things we've gotten in the park. When the more I think about it, I'll think of other things. But it's usually the things that I'll go, oh man, remember that? We got that when we were in Disneyland. Or, oh, that reminds me of when we all went to France, to Disneyland Paris. I mean, it's so those things. That's why I like memorabilia. It triggers memories, so that, like a good collector, you're going, oh yeah, I'm not going to forget that. I'm not going to forget that trip. I'll always have something to make me think of it. So the trick is not buying more than you have room for, but that's the hard part.
Absolutely.
That's the hard part.
Well, Disney collectibles, I'd love for people to write in and let us know if they have any Disney collectibles or any collectibles that they get excited about, or pin sets they can't miss. Do we have any pin addicts out there? Let us know about that. It's been a slow couple of news weeks because of the hurricane and just not a lot going on. But man, Big Thunder Mountain is going to close down, and not just for like a little bit, like a year.
Yeah.
Did you see this?
I did. That's such a shame. I know it's got to be a large maintenance if they're closing down for that long. I saw online that's probably to replace the track like they did at the Disneyland park not too long ago, and possibly to add a new scene. They've talked about adding a new final scene to match the one at Disneyland. At Disneyland Paris. But that is a long time, especially if they go through with the Frontierland plan of getting rid of Tom Sawyer Island and Rivers of America, and that's down all of 2025 and nothing to replace it. And that's a lot. That's a lot to close when you're not opening something new. That would make me go, well, why don't we just go to Universal Epic Universe next 2025 for sure, because that's going to be closed down. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
And along with that, we know that Dinosaur's Last Roar, Dinoland's Last Roar. I'm looking at a headline
January
here
13th.
that they're January 13th. That's going down. Also, the Little Mermaid show, I believe, has been delayed a little bit,
and that hasn't opened. That hasn't even been open since the pandemic. The Dinoland, they're going to keep Dinosaur open, and they're going to keep, I think, the Boneyard, the kids area open, but Chester and Hester's is closing, and the Triceratops Spin is closing, and that area, it's a part of the area, and then they're staggering it to give you a little bit more time, I guess, to ride Dinosaur. I did hear some dinosaurs left Dinosaur. I read that somewhere. Some things are missing.
They got the first hint of the ice age coming, so they just took off. They're heading south for the winter.
But yeah, it sounds like a big change coming. So that's going to be a lot of things down, and there really just hasn't been a lot of new going into to balance that out. I've said this when we were at Disneyland in 2023, and Tiana's was not open, and Space Mountain closed for the whole month we were there, and already their riverboat was closed. And I do think that maybe Haunted Mansion Nightmare Before Christmas had open, but if that had been in process of switching over to from the regular version to the Nightmare, that could have been closed. Like when you go and 3 or 4 what they used to call e-tickets are closed, that's a big chunk right there.
Right.
So you don't want to. I want to. You do have to really check online before you go to make sure that what you want to do is going to be available. Because that's very disappointing. We did not. We went because that's when we could go, and then we got there and Space Mountain was closed, and we already knew that Splash was being converted into Tiana, so that was 2 big e-tickets gone.
Yeah, I did see too that they've added the Christmas skin for Jungle Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
That's what the kids call it, right? Yeah. So it gets the Christmas update called the Jingle Cruise, right? Is something like that?
Cruise.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's exciting. I do think that especially in the winter, who wants to go on it's not cold in Florida, but still, like, that gives you a reason to ride, probably a ride that gets overlooked a little bit, or did in the winter.
I mean, Jungle Cruise in Florida is always a long line. I don't know why it's so much longer than the one in Disneyland, but Jungle Cruise in Disney World always feels like it's a 45 plus. It never seems to go down.
Well, that's because it's the greatest ride at Disney World.
Is it really?
He is a big fan. He is a Jungle Cruise fan.
I am a big fan of the Jungle Cruise.
Were you upset they made the movie then? Because that would just make more people go to it?
Did it?
Well, yeah. Are we sure it did?
I'm not sure it did.
Maybe
really interesting.
Maybe we need to go back and do a review on that.
Check it out. I'm still trying to figure out my plans of getting my family down there. I haven't, but if we do, we definitely have some of the things we can't miss. But I'd love for you guys to tell me about that also.
I know. I'm trying to figure out how to get at least a Magic Kingdom day so I can get Easton on the riverboat before it's gone forever. He's never done that.
You could just take him to many of the river boats that still are there still river boats like along the Mississippi River? I know, like casinos and things like that.
I was going to say casinos. I'm sure there's some tourist type things you can do. We have one in Nashville. There's one where I live.
Okay, that's right.
There's the General Jackson Riverboat, which used to be part of Opryland, the parks, and it was a stage show and a dinner show, and you could, they still have that.
That still operates too, right?
Yes, it goes from what used to be Opryland area to downtown Nashville and back, and it's a dinner show.
Interesting. Have you ever done it?
I have. I had a really good friend who was in the show for many years. My wife and I.
Is it worth it? I've never considered even doing that.
Well, it was especially to us because we had a friend in the show and we wanted to see it. Yeah. But it's like a dinner show. It's like a country music nightclub type. So I don't know what it is right now. It was more like an amusement park country show than like pure country. Like these are all country artists. You know what I mean? This is like more entertainers. And they did a lot of different type of music too. So, but a great band. And so I'm not sure what it is now. It's been quite a few years since I've seen it. But it used to be more like a show you would see at Dollywood or at Opryland Park when it was still there. Something like that. So I'm not sure what they do now. It's been a while.
So I'm going through some Disney. I was kind of going through some other Disney news to kind of talk about on the show. Mm-hmm. And I came across this headline, and I want to know what you guys know about this, okay? Disney fans blast obscene prices at new cake shop. Shockingly offensive.
I did see it. A
slice of cake at the cake bake shop is starting at $22. Have you ever paid $22 for a slice of cake?
No, it's the thing is that it's high prices even for Disney, and so again, this is a chain that's located in other parts of the country. I think I saw even compared to the prices at their other stores that this Disney World version is even more expensive. So yeah, I think like a peanut butter, wasn't like a kid's peanut butter and jelly, like $20. It was
something like that.
You know, I mean, and there are places you're going to play. I mean, if you go to, I can even remember when our kids were little and we went to Disneyland the first time and they were all small and you would sometimes be going, I can't believe I just spent that much for a Mickey shaped peanut butter sandwich, you know. But still not to that level. But it, you know, I've not been to the restaurant. I've not had their cake. So a $25 piece of cake. You know, we just got back from New York City and we went to a bakery that the cookies were so good, kind of like the Gideon's Bake Shop cookies in Orlando, that we ordered some. And that, you know, are they a little bit more expensive than a normal cookie? Yes. Were they worth it? Absolutely. So, you know, if something's great and you go, that's the best piece of cake I've ever had, and you're going to share it with a few people, that's one thing. But that's $25 for a piece of cake is a lot. You can buy great cakes in our area for $40-50. So that's even a lot to some people. That was interesting to watch people get offended. I mean, there was a lot of offense, and I think again with prices, I just saw there was the Disneyland prices went up for ticket prices and annual price. I mean, when I my first trip to Disney when my kids were little, I think the tickets were $75 a piece. Yeah. And now they're over 200. Mm-hmm. And you know, my kids, that's doubled and plus. That's more than doubled since my kids were little, and you know, that's not that long. So I think the rapidity of the price increases is just a little staggering. I'm not sure how that's going to get fixed because people are still paying it.
Yeah, the prices just go up and up and up.
And I think, again, when they do a store like that, you know, there's going to be a lot of influencers and vloggers and people that are going to go order the cake just to make videos. So it's going to open well. It's just like what will the response be? It's kind of like Joker. A lot of people went to see Joker for the first couple of days, and then people said, "Oh, don't go," and it had like one of the worst second weekends in history. So, yeah, when the word gets out that it's not good, we'll just have to see. If people love it, they'll pay.
I'm with you. I do think the market will decide. It'll either work or it won't. Yeah. But if people are paying, they wouldn't do it if they didn't think it would work, right?
If it's a prestigious thing to go do, like people say, oh, it's a once in a lifetime thing, you got to go. People will do it. It's like going and buying one of these, you know, even a D23 membership. There are people that pay thousands and thousands and thousands to be not D23, Club 33. Right. Club 33, yeah. You know, and get on waiting lists to be in a special club just so they can do it. Is it worth it? If you've got the money that you can do it, you know. If you didn't have the money, probably not.
Well, I mean, there's so many. It's all about value. I will say, like, I was looking here that Universal Epic Universe tickets go on sale this month, and I started thinking about like what is a premier experience worth, and what am I willing to pay for it? I had this conversation with my wife over the weekend. We actually went to Kings Island in Cincinnati, Ohio. We've spoken about it on the podcast before, but it's an amusement park owned by Cedar Point, which is the big amusement park in Ohio.
Right.
And they're known for, they have most of the roller coaster records at this park, right? The tallest, whatever the tallest, the fastest, the longest, whatever roller coaster records exist, Cedar Point probably owns it at one of their parks. And they purchased Kings Island from Paramount in the last couple of decades.
Right.
And it's right outside of Cincinnati. It's the closest theme park that I live to. So when we take like groups from church, we end up there once a year, usually for the Halloween Fright Fest kind of thing, their version of Halloween Horror Nights at Universal, and you go ride a bunch of roller coasters. So we were having this conversation about what is too expensive. And I will say this: you want to guess what a single day park pass is to Kings Island these days?
I would guess $100 at least.
It's $100. Yes, 90 upper 90s, right? Just under $100,
which is
for a single day pass.
Sounds to me that sounds like I can't believe that, because that seems like what a Disney ticket should be.
That's exactly right. And so I was thinking the same thing. And I will say, I have not been to Kings Island in a long time when it was this crowded. There were people everywhere. Now, there are a lot of roller coasters. I also, when there are people everywhere, the experience is a lot different. And I made a joke one time, like, this is not Disney or Universal. My kid, was with my kids too, and there were just so many people, B, so many drunk people, C, there were a few times I'll just say I went to the restroom, had walked over vomit several times. Like, it was just kind of a gross, sticky. The weather was perfect, I will say that, but it's not magical. We'll just put it that way and leave it at that.
I totally understand. We used to go, and we still go a lot, to Dollywood, because it's the closest park to us. Right. And I do think Dollywood has made a lot of changes through the years that make the park, it just gets better and better and better. But it's a different clientele a little bit than Disney. And so you may, they used to have to do a lot of, hey, you can't wear a bathing suit in the park. A lot of, hey, make sure you're not wearing your water park clothes and you can't just light up anywhere you want to, and things like that. So there are a lot of things like that they have to work. It just takes a while to get people conditioned. But that's one of the reasons that Disney was always a little bit more expensive, is because it kind of minimizes some of that those challenges.
Let's just say it keeps out the riffraff.
Well, that was kind of the word that they used to say back in the day. I've heard that word actually before. Because when Walt built the parks, that was what people said. They're dirty. They attract a wilder crowd. And he was like, my park's not going to be that way. And so, right. And for a long time it wasn't, because they kind of believed that if you keep it up and it's well groomed and the maintenance is well, and the landscaped well, that people will take care of it. And I do think there is a degree that still exists. I mean, you still see that in a lot of areas, not just Disney, but if things are done well, people will. I mean, there's convenience stores that are known for that now, that they have the best bathrooms and they have bathroom attendants. Sure. If you stop on the highway, and they're better than the average truck stop. And so, there's degrees to that for sure. But as these prices go up, lately, I think because of the alcohol, I mean, you do see a lot more drunkenness than you ever saw at the parks, because there wasn't alcohol available at every park now like it is. So it's just getting harder and harder to maintain some of that, which we talking about today, is that Universal, we saw several articles about Universal patenting a system that actually tracks the crowd so they can monitor through sensors whether people have had too much to drink, whether people are cutting in the lines, breaking in line, whether there's other behaviors going on. What do you think of that? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that they should be watching you and monitoring people's behavior?
Okay, I would have to see this patent to see exactly how they're doing this. But I actually I'm usually the guy's like, absolutely not. I don't want any of that stuff. But in my theme park experience, I actually give it to me. I want a curated experience. If you can get rid of line skippers, and you can get rid of drunk people, and you can get rid of people who are cursing in front of kids, and I say go for it. I make it more magical. You can be a big brother in the theme park. I'm okay with it.
I should have sent you this article beforehand. It's been in a few places, but this website called Orlando Park Stop, and I don't know this website particularly, but I heard several people talking about this online and other places. This came out October 3rd, and it said Universal patents technology to detect line jumping and other disruptive behaviors. And it goes through, it talks about motion sensors, temperature sensors, sound sensors, smoke detector sensors, liquid detection sensors, structural sensors, camera sensors, and multifunctional comp device. And then it goes through, it's a whole big diagram, and then the article says Universal's filed a patent application for a technology that would replace sensors around the theme park. These sensors could use machine learning to detect unruly guests and track rule breakers with the aim of improving the guest experience for others. If it could monitor people cutting in line, that sounds like a full-time job right there.
For real. Like when you were going through that list, I'm thinking, well, who's going to monitor this? And like when the alarm goes off, who shows up? Like you have to, and there's a lot of new jobs.
Yeah.
Like, or maybe it's robots, maybe it's AI, which would be even better for enforcement.
Yeah, they could get.
You know what I mean? Imagine like RoboCop shows up,
like which Elon Musk just came out with.
And I saw that. Please extinguish your cigarette now.
It's a RoboCop Mickey walking around telling people to back up.
That'd be kind of awesome. I will say, you jump line, you need to go back or else, and that would be pretty amazing.
One of our favorite stories from that we still laugh about like crazy was when we went to Disney Paris this last trip. And the first thing we did together as a family was their version of Pirates of the Caribbean. So it's our first attraction. And we're in line with everybody else. And I'm kind of, it's the seven of us. And I'm kind of standing in the back. And there are these two ladies that are like right on me. I mean, they are pressed so close to me, like pushing me forward, like pushing me. It's like, what is going on here? What is going on here? Like, this isn't what I expect from Paris. Like Paris, I expect people to be like, we'll get there when we get there, and they are about to knock me down. And it's like, what is their problem? I'm right. I can't go any more forward than I'm going right here. My family's right in front of me. So eventually they pushed in front of me and got between me and the rest of my family.
What'd you do? Just ride with them? Ride with the people behind?
Easton, what did I do?
Well, it was so crazy because when you tried to get back around in front of them, they were like, no, like saying, don't cut in front of us. And he just looks at him and he goes, that's my family.
I don't know if they spoke English, but they knew what I meant. I will just put it that way. They got out of my way.
That is so funny.
And so I was like, what is going on here? Because there's been some tourist attractions that I've seen some crazy things. So I was just shocked at this at Paris because I'm thinking, is this what this is going to be like for a few days? This isn't what I thought Paris was like. And then nothing else was like that ever. I did actually see those young ladies in the park again a little bit later, but that was the only experience we ever had like that. Now I've definitely seen a lot. I would say maybe even more so at Disneyland than Disney World, where somebody gets in line and then says, "Hey, my family's coming up," and then like 12 people work their way through the line like somebody's holding their place. Like, oh, we took all the kids to the restroom, and like suddenly there's 10 more people in line. I've seen a lot of that, but anyway, again, Universal coming in with the sensors now, you wouldn't be able to come in with 12 people in line anymore. You'll have to all wait till you get in line to get there, I guess.
I think no. You pay so much money. The last thing you want is to have a bad experience because of other,
Right.
bad customers, bad guests.
And I definitely don't.
So if they can fix that, I'm down.
And I definitely, as a parent, you don't want to be standing in a 35 to an hour minute line, and your kid says, "I've got to go to the restroom," and feel like your whole family has to get out of line to take a kid.
Right.
You can't control it, like some people, like adults, and so. But
Sure.
They need more restrooms for these. Some of the new attractions do have that, but in the old days, you had to get back out, or you got to hope people have a little bit of mercy for you. But I do think that that some people were talking about, is it going to monitor your speech and things like that? And I mean, sometimes even that you've got young children with you in the park, and it's a family day, and then you get some teenagers nearby who are using some words you don't really prefer
the teenagers.
your children to hear. Sometimes it's the adults, but and there's a lot of people that have no filters. That's the word I was looking for, no filters. So this was really interesting. Again, it doesn't bother me. When I go to a theme park, I go, this is not my house. This is I'm going to somebody else's property, and it's their rules, and if I'm going to be hopefully obeying the rules anyway. And I do think things that keep people from drinking too much and making a scene, probably a good thing, because we've seen some fights break out, and a lot of people make poor choices because there was no one to tell them, hey, you've had enough. So maybe that'll help. We'll see. I just don't want it to creep. Don't want it to creep into my home. I don't want you don't want technology like this getting into the wrong hands. So
that's right. It could be a premise for a universal ride, like an attraction, like it goes haywire, like a realistic kind of like movies. I don't know. We'll think about this. Maybe we could develop this into something better. It could, the thing, and part of the attraction, it tells you what you just said when you were in line. Like it throws it back in your face. Dude, that could be amazing.
It puts all your thoughts and your up on a big screen for everybody else to see.
That's a good idea. Oh my gosh, that could be fun.
No.
Anyhow, if you have a story about an unruly guest, let us know. We'd love to hear about it. We loved all of the dish on that. So please, you can find us at Instagram. You can find us on Twitter and whyIloveDisney.com. And until next time, David and Easton, y'all have a great day.
You too.
See ya.